we were talking about really messaging and how it's perceived. Things like defund the police and such. So, Sarah, you were about to say something?
Yeah, well, the quote that jumped out at me in that interview that President Obama did was this. It says, and if you want to get something done in a democracy, in a country as big and diverse as ours, you've got to be able to meet people where they are and play a game of addition and not subtraction. And I think that's what jumps out at me because, Sonny, I understand you talking about not defining a movement. I recognize I'm not part of this active conversation, but from the outside, if you look at it as trying to gain people that don't understand it or don't get it, when the term confuses people, and I know you said...
Well, why, Sarah, do you think you're not part of this conversation? Because you should be a part of this active conversation, because I know that you're against the over-policing in Black and brown communities as well.
Sonny, I appreciate that. The problem is when I've jumped into this conversation before, I've been excused because of the hue of my skin, and I've always had one critique on this. I agree with the end game, but I was saying that there are some ideological, reasons why selling a movement with a slogan that is possibly confusing. I know that particularly James Clyburn had spoken with Representative John Lewis, they were talking about the civil rights movement. They talked about how Burn Baby Burn didn't land the way it should have, that it was misconstrued. People got confused. And I think when there's any room... Sorry.
The term abolishing slavery wasn't received well. The term civil rights, that term also wasn't received well. Again, these aren't political slogans, Sarah, and you know that. These are rallying cries.
And if they're
policy demands.
My confusion then is I believe in the movement of this. I believe in the removing the no-knock warrants. I believe in criminal justice reform. I agree with letting people out that have low-level drug crimes. I agree with reallocating
then you believe in defunding the police.
But the reason I'm saying this is my understanding, originally when Defund the Police came out, there were people that thought eliminating the police. The second understanding I had was bringing on mental health experts. Then when Alicia Garza was here, am I saying her name right? She explained to me that it's about taking it out of, Alicia, out of the police departments completely and giving it to the schools. So I myself am read in and care, and I got a little confused on the topic. And that's the reason I bring it up, is because I agree with the end game.
Well, it just seems to me that being confused about a topic doesn't mean you should change.
Sonny, listen. President Obama is he's what you call a pragmatic politician. He is trying to get the thing done. Everything that Sarah just said is true. We're all in the same camp. The question is, how do you now communicate it to people who just hear a slogan and who do not read between the lines? When you say to people, Black Lives Matter, I have a cousin who said, well, and she's a liberal, don't all lives matter? And I said, look, if one house is burning on the street, the other houses matter, but we're concentrating on the burning house right now. And it's a similar idea. You cannot, we also care about the police.
So you had to explain it.
But we're concentrating
But you had to explain that, Joy, right?
That are going on. You have to make that clear. What? Yeah, you have to say.
You had to explain Black Lives Matter. Why change the slogan if you need to, for people because they don't understand it, or because you need to explain it? Again, this term is a policy demand. It is a demand for change, and I always will think it is a mistake to allow opponents to define language and to define narratives.
To say Black Lives Matter is true. To say defund the police is not completely true. They are not going to defund the police.
I think it is true.
They are going to reallocate. It's different. Black Lives Matter is a true story, is a true fact. Defunding the police is vague. That's my argument. And I don't think it's vague. And yet I think that you have to be clearer. What?
I don't think it's vague at all. I think defund the police means exactly what they're saying. It means take some of the funds and reallocate them. It's not completely defund the police. It's not abolish the police. It's defund the police. And if people care about it, then they look into it just like you have and explain it to those that can't. But the mistake is allowing the right to change the narrative.
If we were the only ones telling the story, you would be absolutely right. If we were the only ones telling the story. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. So someone gets something that says defund the police, and the narrative then becomes they want to get rid of the police departments, and then someone runs with that. It turns into something that it isn't, and you are stuck explaining and explaining, and lots of people lost because of that, because people took it out of context and didn't explain what it meant. And so a lot of people lost because the other side said, let me take this and run with it. And you know what that means. You know what it means when they say that. So that's, I think that's what the discussion is to try to figure out a better way to explain it to people. I think that's what the discussion